Welcome back to the Physique Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Physique, and I'm joined today by my lovely girlfriend, Aiste.
Hello, guys. I'm back.
Today we are going to be talking about content creation. Now, how to master content creation and build narrative, become very good at storytelling to build trust with your audience, build goodwill, and allow you to document your journey in the right way that's actually going to see some benefit in the form of gaining clients, in the form of progressing your business. And who better than two online coaches, one from the female sector and one from the male sector, to give you two different perspectives on content creation. Because how I create content and how you create
different.
it, polar opposites, right? I wouldn't even say very different, an understatement. So is there one thing that you tell coaches right now that are struggling with content, anything in particular?
Make content that you enjoy.
Very big one. Enjoyment is the key to everything.
Because I went down the trap of going, I'm an online coach now. All I have to do is educational content. And I hate doing educational content. I feel like it's not really me as a person. Like, I'm quite an open, bubbly person, sitting down and going, right, here are your macros. That ain't me. And I hated that. And no shock horror, of course they didn't do very well. So make content that you enjoy, 100%.
Yeah, because your USP, your personality is your greatest weapon.
Yeah.
You know?
And if your content isn't reflecting that, then it's a bit of a sticky one.
Yeah. And everyone who's listening to this who's an online coach will have gone through it. You lose yourself sometimes creating certain pieces of content that you think needs to be done.
I think you also get wrapped into trends and how to make something a viral post. Like, don't focus on being viral.
Or even like having a certain business mentor. Let's say one business mentor has 30 different mentees. They're all getting told to create content the same way.
Yeah.
Let's have it right. Because they think one formula is the best formula, right? When in reality, a lot of what content creation is trial and error. It's trial and error. It's analysing your performance. And the way that I've been able to be so consistent with my storytelling is by making tweaks to every aspect of your structure. So like, we're going to talk about the structure of your content and what you should follow and how you should essentially lay out your content, right? There needs to be certain things. Now, we're going to cover why storytelling is going to be a really fucking important weapon for you building trust with your audience. People need to give a shit. They need to give a shit. And the only way that they're going to give a shit is if you tell a story, right? You need to give them a reason as to why they're watching you, why they're investing in you. Because that is what it is. Currency in today's world is attention. Now, if somebody is giving you their attention, they're investing in you. So if you can build a story, and you can do this in many ways, right? And the way you tell stories and the way I tell stories is very different, right? You need to become very good at telling stories. And we're going to touch upon how we can create that and the best framework for that. Now, let's have it right. How many coaches are listening to this, or how many coaches have you spoke to that are firing shit at a wall aimlessly?
And hoping something sticks.
Just chucking a fuck ton of shit at a wall and hoping something sticks. And then they're wondering why I'm not getting any engagement, or they're wondering why nobody gives a shit. It's because, again, going back to your point, you're not enjoying things. You know, and like, I want to get your opinion on what things that you did with content creation that you didn't enjoy, that you thought you needed to do, and now in hindsight, it's not necessary.
I used to think that I, number one, had to follow viral trends, audios, do quick little snappy videos to get people's attention. Like, if that isn't you, like, for me, the best way I get myself across is if I can show who I am. And that's me being goofy, trying on gym clothes, or going and trading hard. Like, that is me. And if you have to be true to yourself and what you believe in, because your content is a reflection of who you are, people buy into you, and your content has to show a reflection into you. But yeah, like, I used to think I either had to sit down and be very, here is my client, this is what they did. Those posts are important, but I've made a separate page for that, because my personal page is still very much about me, my journey, my own personal journey. And I feel like there have been moments in my career where I felt like my personal page had to become my coaching page. And to me, that doesn't work. I don't like that.
I think the personal
But
page.
you've got a very different outlook on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is why we're having this conversation. Like, I think if you're making content, you always want to make sure that you're utilizing your greatest weapon. And more often than not, people's greatest weapon are their personal pages, right? That's just common sense. Now, for whatever reason, if you want to delegate that and you want to separate that, that's your gift. That's how you create content. And this is why we're giving a masterclass on creating content, because it's individual, right? How I create content is different. How you create content is different. You know, the key thing is when you're trying to get somebody to trust in you as an individual, showing vulnerability is really important to your success. You know, how many times have you been vulnerable in front of your audience? Plenty.
Well, it's quite a lot.
Yeah. Because the reality is no one's perfect.
Makes you realistic, right?
No one's perfect, right? We all go through struggles. You know, some people are just better at broadcasting than others. Look, the stance point from a male's point of view is you have to earn that vulnerability as a man. You have to be able to vent and show emotion and show vulnerability from a position of authority, right? That's how men gain the most amount of respect from other men, is when they talk about a particular topic, like, for instance, a hair transplant, or, for instance, a breakup. If that advice is coming from a position of authority and position of success, it's going to be bought into a lot more, right? If you're somebody who hasn't achieved any success and you're moaning about relationships, you're moaning about women, you're moaning about how hard business is, no one gives a fuck, right? So again, it's about knowing your demographic. Whereas on the flip side with women buy into vulnerability a lot easier than men do, right? And that's something that you need to understand when you're speaking to your audience. Like, what demographic am I speaking to?
Yeah.
Like, who actually wants to listen to what I'm saying? Like, every time you make a piece of content.
But also, who are you trying to target to?
Yeah, look, it's all important, right? Because the reality is this. Every time that you're making a piece of content, when it comes to business, you're trying to provide a solution. You're trying to provide value. Now, you need to understand straight away, even before, and this is where, like, for me, I'd say the last 6 months has been really important. I spend far more time planning my content now and scripting my content than I do executing it. Whereas before, I'd spend far more time. You know what I was like.
You used to wing it.
I used to wing it. I used to be like, right, I'm just going to execute. And then I found myself in a position where I was like, a lot of my stuff was hit and miss, a lot of it. And then I streamlined it. I was like, okay, I'm going to plan. I'm going to post with purpose. I'm going to script. Now, my version of scripting mainly helps my editor. However, it's more so to give my content structure, right? So if we're talking about structure, right, we want to, first of all, hit them with a hook, right? So your hook should be either a bold statement, an intriguing question, or an interesting fact. But you need to basically make sure that your hook is going to
hook people in.
Exactly, hook people in like a fisherman, right? They're going to want to keep watching. You have to stop them from scrolling. So, for instance, a great one that did well was your morning coffee is killing your progress, your fat loss progress. That is an interesting, bold statement. It's like people go, what the fuck do you mean by my morning coffee? What does that mean? Or, for instance, off the top of my head, you're losing 10 pounds in 10 weeks because of this one nutrition switch. It could be carbohydrate lower intake. It could be a certain food that you're using instead of a certain other carbohydrate.
You can also do visual hooks too.
Visual hooks, all these sort of things, right? The main thing with that is, again, trial and error. It's making sure that when you have a hook, there's a clear reason behind that. And don't be afraid to have 3 or 4 or 5 different hooks, okay? The main thing there is making sure that you are taking a topic and going, right, where's the interesting fact? Where's the bold statement? And what question piques curiosity? Okay? You've got to basically get people thinking for themselves. And then once you have that, you can start going into your storytelling. So the struggle. So let's say if you're talking about somebody's fat loss journey, what do they struggle with? Is it lack of discipline? Is it lack of routine? Is it lack of enjoyment? You know, you have to figure out why you're saying what you're saying. Like, what problem are you trying to solve? Okay, once you've done that, you then go through a solution. You have to give them a solution. You have to literally say, right, I want you to apply this, okay? Give them something to apply, right? And then, and only then, will they be able to try your advice, come back to you in 2 weeks' time and say yes or no, it did help? Okay? So in regards to how you apply that with your content, from a female's point of view, how would you go about that?
Sorry, I wasn't really listening.
Fuck. This is not good, is it? I have to edit that
I
out.
thought you were giving advice and I was
Sorry.
just...
Okay, so the structure of your content. How do you like to structure your content?
I'll be honest, I'm shit at structuring my content.
Yeah.
I just focus on one thing, and that's a scene change every 2 seconds.
There you go. That's another thing.
That's
I
it.
forgot about that.
That's what I
Scene
do.
change every 2 seconds, very, very helpful.
Because again, going back to attention spans,
Yeah.
people don't want to watch the same shit for like 6 seconds. So you just gotta, whether you zoom in, zoom out, whether you change angle, whether you change scene, you gotta.
What's the biggest mistake you reckon coaches make when creating content?
It being boring.
Yeah, but I don't think they do that on purpose. It's not a mistake.
What?
A mistake is a decision that you make and stuff like that. Like,
Just, I don't know.
boring content. I mean, yes, don't make boring content. Don't make boring content,
Like, if
yes.
the content is about
I don't think that's a
macros-
mistake, though. I don't think that's a mistake, though, is it? People don't intend to make boring content.
I don't know.
It's not a mistake, is it? It might be an unfortunate byproduct of their lack of personality. I don't know. I mean, look, some people, I will say this, yeah. If
Do you know what?
if you're not good in front of a camera,
I was just about to say that.
you are kind of fucked.
Work to your
No,
strengths.
do you know what? I used to share this opinion like 2 years ago. If you want to accelerate your coaching
yeah, 'cause
business,
it's all about reels these days,
fuck
isn't
me,
it?
you need to be in front of a camera. If you
Yeah.
cannot be in front of a camera, and if
Work
you
on it.
can't like speak to a camera as if like somebody behind it is listening to you, you need to become better because you are fucking cooked. If you can't create video format content, you're getting nowhere in this industry because there's so much of it now, you're just going to get drowned out. You are simply going to get drowned out by the rest of the noise, right? You can do all the fucking fancy graphics, you can do all the pictures you want, right? There has to be some form of interaction on a video format base. There are very few people that I know that get away with documenting their life through pictures. Very few people.
I don't think that even exists anymore.
I know a couple, but they've also been doing it for such a long period of time that they've built that validation and built that trust, right? So the way that you want to be, right, is you want to educate your audience. You want to be relatable to either your situation or your client's situation. You want to entertain.
I was about to say, you got to be entertaining.
Have to be entertaining. Like
Or
whether it's
interesting.
whether it's your personality, whether it's the topic that you cover, whether
lifestyle.
it's the lifestyle, whether it's
Your
the
physique.
overlays, your physique, entertain in some capacity. And then once you've done those three, you can chuck in a bit of selling, right? Don't ever try and sell first and entertain later. Entertain first, sell later. Be relatable first, sell later.
Well, it's like
Educate
dating,
first,
isn't
sell
it?
later.
Like, it's like dating. You wouldn't go up to someone at a bar without cracking some jokes, without warming up to that person. You wouldn't just go up to someone and whack the condom right in front of them, would you?
Depends who it is.
No, you wouldn't, though, would you?
No, you wouldn't, you're right. And you wouldn't, you're right. But depends who it is. You know, sometimes prostitutes are
on.
prostitutes for a reason, right?
Yeah, but you're not going to walk up to a prostitute and go, oh, that's,
Depends. I mean, if
what
you're a
she did.
10-10, you know what I mean? They might be willing to spread their legs. Who knows? Anywho, again.
Not the analogy I was going for,
Yeah, but
Stephen.
what I'm saying is you can't just, put it in with no lubrication. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of them things where you can't just go straight in full force.
No.
You have to have some strategy. You have to have some foreplay, right? And that's where...
Warm up.
You have to warm up, exactly. So... A big one for a lot of coaches, right, is the burnout situation where creating too much content is probably not enough, right? I personally have the opinion that quality should always trump quantity.
100%.
Because if you make a piece of content that follows the correct structure, that ticks all the boxes and has a good topic, you provide entertainment, you're relatable, you have far more likelihood of going viral. And if you have one viral video or one viral piece of content that ticks the right boxes, you could get 100 leads from that, and then you go into your email funnels or you go into your conversations, etc., right? Then you nurture. But the first thing is capturing that lead, right? And then you nurture it from a cold lead to a warm lead or a warm lead to a hot lead, right? Now, to avoid burnout, you need to enjoy the content. If you don't enjoy it, you're going to burn out, right? How many times have you burnt out and said to me, I can't be asked to film, I've lost my mojo.
Do you know what? I feel like for me, burnout's never been an issue, but lack of ideas has been the issue.
Yeah, but that's a symptom of burnout.
Like
So
not knowing.
So okay, let's dumb down the whole burnout, and let's say creative burnout. So there's lots of aspects of burnout.
You've hit like a writer's stump.
You lose that creative ability.
Yeah.
Your creativity, your creative side of your brain starts to dwindle because you just keep hammering the same nail. Like once you hammer a nail in it so much, it's in the fucking wood. You can't hammer in it; it's only going to damage the wood, right? So you can't keep hammering the nail if it's already in. So you have to take some breaks, you have to plan, and this is again why I spend more time planning than executing, because planning more and executing less leads to less burnout. Because if you're planning a good idea and you're spending less time actually executing it, or spending less time executing over and over and over again, because a lot of people may have a really good content idea, but the execution's poor. And the reason why the execution is poor is because the planning isn't there. The lack of planning is there, right? If you don't plan and you're not sitting in front of your camera knowing exactly what you need to say, what topic you're covering, and what story you want to tell them, and what direction you want them to go, right? It's all about navigating people. You're navigating them. You're taking them from point A to point B, right?
Do you know one thing I will say, going back to scripting, and this is something I wish I knew, like when I first started making content, is it is okay for you to say what you need to say in front of the camera, stop, read.
Be very good at editing.
Go again, because that's the beauty of editing. You just cut that bit out.
Yeah.
And no one will know. Like, I feel like I used to do this all the time and think I have to be, right, I've clicked record, I need to quickly regurgitate everything. I'm just thinking, take it slow, because then you're going to pronounce things better. You know what you're saying. You've got more confidence because you can back yourself more. So, yeah, I don't think just when you press record, you have to just get it all out, because you don't.
Well, there's five steps to content creation. There's your audience, planning your content, scripting your content, executing your content, editing your content. They are all just as important as each other, right? If you don't know who you're talking to, you're fucked. If you don't plan, you're fucked. If you don't script, you're fucked. If you don't execute, you're fucked. If you don't edit, you're fucked, right? So there are 5 steps that you can be very good at. And I would say, to avoid burnout, delegate at least 2 of those. So I use ChatGPT to help with my planning and scripting. And then I have an editor in South Africa who edits my stuff. So I'm basically the mastermind of my audience, who I'm actually who I'm targeting, and who my message is reaching for that piece of content, and the execution. Okay. The other 3, the planning, the scripting, and the editing, I don't have a play in. Okay. I have a role slightly with the planning, because I give ChatGPT my initial ideas and my brain dump, but then the rest of it comes from ChatGPT and I go back and forth. So there's a little bit of time, but again, it's keeping the mind fresh. And I do edit a little bit as well. Like, you edit a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I like editing.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. You prefer editing more than I do. Like, editing for me is a job.
Like, for me, I would rather someone plan my shit for me. I film and edit.
So I love planning.
See, I hate that.
I couldn't, nothing makes me fucking hornier than having a really good idea, because I know I can execute it. Like, my problem's never been execution, ever in my life. No. When it comes to content creation, my problem has never been execution. My problem has been getting in front of that camera and knowing what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's been my problem. So now I've fixed that, and I'm going viral a lot more. My content's reaching a lot more people. I'm getting a lot more leads from it, because I've looked at the area that I'm not as good at and gone, right, I need to spend more time on it. Because executing, like, I can hire, like, used to do it all the time. Pay Ed to come over, the videographer from in Sheffield. I'd go, right, we're just going to film. And it'd come out okay. Imagine what it would have done, and imagine how I could have repurposed that content if I'd have fucking planned it.
But I also think back in those days it wasn't as important as it is now.
No, obviously everything has to, attention to detail has to increase when there's more competition.
Yeah.
When there's more frequency, there's more competition for attention. Attention to detail has to increase. So therefore, that's why I now plan my content, I script my content. Like, again, if you're delegating your editing, you need to script your content. If you're not scripting your content, but you're delegating the videos to an editor, they're not going to fucking know the structure of the video. They're not going to know. So what the fuck are you doing? You need to script. You know, you need to tell your editor, right, this is scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4, scene 5. And if you're listening to this and you're creating content as an online coach and you're like, fuck me, this guy sounds like a genius, or Aiste sounds like a fucking genius, then you need to have a conversation with me, because this is basic shit. This is basic shit. This is key stage 2, motherfuckers. It's key stage 2, motherfuckers. Goes all the way up to university, bruv. Key stage 2 this is, yeah? So you need to understand that planning and scripting is 90% of the video, right? The execution, that's where there's variability. Now, again, I already touched upon it. Repurposing. I repurpose a lot now. A lot more than I used to, right? Because it's all about creating content that can be posted again and again and again. Because the reality is with social media, right? And you'll know this. Fuck me, when was the last time you actually remembered a video? Never do. So repurposing is not an issue.
Yeah, I think a lot of people go into... I mean, I do it quite a lot still.
I used to do it all the time.
Where you go, oh, I need to make a new video because they've seen
Nope.
this video. But especially with Reels, you have to remember that
No one gives a fuck.
so many different people are watching your stuff.
Yeah, no one gives a
It's
fuck.
not just your followers.
Yeah.
So, and even your followers, they're not going to remember what they've watched and what they haven't. So, yeah.
And do you know what it is? One tip that I'd give anybody listening to this now. Your video may not be shit. It's just the middle bit might be shit, or the front might be shit, or the end might be shit. You just need to rearrange. Maybe you should take the video that you think is really good and change the hook. Do 3 different hooks to see how they do. Or change the storytelling, or change the solution. Again, you can look at the video idea, and just because you execute a video idea and it doesn't get the return on investment, or doesn't get the reach or the views that you want, doesn't mean it's a shit idea. It just means it's been poorly executed, right? So again, go back to the editing board and go, right, how can I change this? I do it all the fucking time. That's why I have an editor, because I'm a perfectionist. I could sit down and fucking edit my own YouTube video for 3 hours if I didn't lose the patience. Like, I'm a perfectionist. So again, sometimes I would say anyone who's listening to this, go back to your content bank. And if you don't have a content bank, this is another golden nugget for you. Have a content bank. Either in a cloud, either on your laptop, a hard drive, Google Drives, what the fuck's it called? Dropbox. Have your content stored somewhere. All of it.
And label it as well.
All of it. Label the fuck out of it.
Transformations, Q&A.
Client transformations, educational content, relatable content, personal content.
Stories.
Store everything. Label the fuck out of it. Because when you create 200 pieces of content, guess what? You're not going to know your dick from your ass. It's impossible.
But also, it's a really good way of getting B-roll without you actually having to.
Yeah,
go out and
B-roll's
get
massive.
B-roll.
I'm on the B-roll crusade this year.
Because if you've got 200 pieces of content,
Going back to repurposing.
and a lot of it's different style of content, you can just use those videos as B-roll.
Yeah. And if you don't know how to write an attention-grabbing hook, we need to have a chat, because I have a ChatGPT cheat sheet that literally allows you to write the information regarding your audience, your brand, and what you need ChatGPT to give you, and then you just give it some guidelines, you give it some prompts, going, right, I have this topic idea, I want you to give me an interesting fact about it. I have this topic idea, I want you to give me a statement that's going to pique curiosity. I have this content idea, I want you to give me a bold statement that's going to get people going, what the fuck? That's literally how you just speak to ChatGPT. If I have a conversation with ChatGPT and I say, right, this is my content idea, I want you to give me 3 different hooks or 3 different styles of hooks, and then you just learn. You apply it, you execute it, and you learn. And then you look at you look at your analytics, you look at your views, you look at your insights, you look at your watch time. Watch time and views are far more important than likes and comments these days. Far more important. If somebody's watching your content for longer than 20 seconds per video, you're doing a great fucking job. I doubt that's many of you, because I would consider anything over 30 seconds like fucking great shit, right? And to be fair, I did get some of that from my hair transplant. But again, like, it's diversifying your content. Like, how many times do you do different styles of content?
All the time.
All the time, exactly. That's why you're sat next to me in Bali. You're not fucking in the UK. No, but serious though. Because you do the things that you need to do. You have the correct structure. You almost put your ego to one side and go, right, do you know what? I'm just going to keep trying and trying and trying. And if you do the same things over and over again, you do the right strategies and structures, you're going to go viral. You're going to get the lead gen that you want. But another thing is capitalizing on that exposure. You know, I was having this conversation with Claire, and she was like, oh, well, I said to her, I was like, well, when you do lead gen, would you like to have 100 leads? She was like, yeah, that'd be great. Well, have you got the system in place to capitalize on that? And the answer was no, right? We'll build the system. Because a lot of people go, oh, well, I don't need that yet. Yeah, you don't need it right now. But what happens if you do get 100 leads from one post? What are you going to do then? You're then going to individually reply, and you could just use ManyChat to do the automation, which is going to solve your initial outreach problem. And then you can follow up and chase up, which is far less time consuming. So, yeah. In regards to one piece of advice you'd give to coaches that are struggling with content creation right now? Is there anything in particular?
The easiest way to get content and kind of get back into your creative flow, post about yourself.
Yeah.
Your journey, what you're doing.
It's the easiest thing to do.
Like, if you've got a kid, how you're juggling your fitness journey with being a mum or a dad, or, you know, sounds ridiculous, but even just crazy shit like you doing the dishes and making your meal prep, and that's all B-roll too. Like, you can use that as B-roll. Like, just film more about yourself. If you literally have zero ideas and you've hit that creative slump, go back to the drawing board and do the easiest thing. That's talk about yourself.
Be relatable.
Because that's...
There's nothing more relatable than explaining your own situation.
And then you're going to get back into that creative flow, and then it's just going to snowball from there.
Yep.
But every time I have like a creative slump, I just go back to that.
Well, content breeds content. You know, you may do one piece of video, you may do one piece of content, and there might be a 5-second clip in that piece of content, and you go, fuck, that's another thing I could talk about. I do it all the time.
But also, I think as well, don't downplay what your clients are telling you.
Yeah,
So,
clients are direct feedback, especially.
Yeah.
Like, they're the people that you want to
they're
attract,
target
right?
audience.
They're your target audience. So,
So-
if they have a question or
Yeah.
like your check-ins, and
Liquid
if you're not
gold.
asking for feedback, or if you're not asking for their particular
Struggles, what
struggles
they've
for that
struggled,
week,
yeah.
you're missing out on free content. Because you should have, like, for me, I use Google Forms. So I could literally go to like a certain question within my Google Forms, and I'd have a plethora of fucking content ideas of people, what they've struggled with, what they've had issues with this week, and you just focus on that. And you go, right, these people have struggled to get their workouts in. Why? Because they're busy, they're CEOs. I work with a lot of CEOs. Their biggest issue is priority of their fitness, because they can run their business, they're fucking millionaires, but they have a problem with applying the same discipline to their own personal shit, you know? And that, again, is content.
And your content is just providing a solution, advice to
Providing
that
a solution.
That's
See?
it.
She's learnt well, hasn't she? Providing a solution, giving value. And then if you, first of all, because I feel like people might walk away from this and go, oh, I need to be entertaining. Right. First of all, provide value. First of all, provide a solution. And then once you're good at those two things, then you can entertain. Do not try and entertain first, because if you entertain and your value and your solutions are shit, you're just going to get laughed at. Because entertainment is how you're going to get viral. And the last thing you want is going viral and people taking a piss out of you and going, what the fuck's this guy on about? Because I literally saw this the other day, right? There was this one guy who literally looks like 10 stone wet fucking through. And he was saying how barbell bent over rows are shit for your back, and you should rather do a cable single arm seated row. And he looked like he looked like he's been fucking feasting on vegan buffets. I've seen more meat on a vegetarian platter at a party. Like, honestly, and he's going on about exercise selection. And exactly, and it went viral, and I was looking at the comment section, getting put on blast. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's where he was providing a little bit of entertainment, but the value in the solution was shit.
But then probably, I mean, his agenda probably wasn't to provide entertainment. He probably wanted to provide value.
Might have been serious. I hope he wasn't. I hope it was satire, but anyway. But yeah, in regards to any questions, if you are struggling with the content creation side of things, then just message me and we'll have a chat, because it's a lot simpler than you think, all right? So that's been episode 12 of the Physique Podcast. Thank you very much, Aiste, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And I'll catch you guys later.
Bye.